What effect does our environment have on our relationships? Can space soothe us? Can physical boundaries keep us from connecting? Can transparent surfaces help us see through one another? Kogonada's 2017 film, Columbus, is enchanted by these questions. It's a film about making new connections with strangers and maintaining them with our parents. It's about emotional ties, old and new, and what it means to keep those ties in a world where alienation is the modern condition. Kogonada's use of static camera work and meticulous compositions make it impossible to observe his characters as separate from their immediate environment. It's a cinematic painting, made from separations, symmetry, and reflections, both material and mental. But Kogonada is not the first to find himself at the crossroads of architectural and emotional space. In many ways, he is answering a challenge set over half a century ago by another filmmaker, Michelangelo Antonioni. In Antonioni's films from the 60s, the modern world has been built to keep us apart. His characters struggle with alienation, insincerity, and the inability to communicate, and their environment is both a catalyst and illustrative of these problems. Nearly every frame is composed to tell us something about the inner world of his characters. The spaces that they occupy become windows into unconscious and inexpressible feelings. They are cut off, trapped, dwarfed, and crushed by their environments. And we need his camera to tell us this, because these characters cannot access their feelings verbally. Modernist architecture, with its cold surfaces, hard lines, and naked functionality, become the perfect metaphorical environment for Antonioni to explore his favourite theme, the uneasy transition between the old world and the new. 50 years later, and we're still living in Antonioni's modern world, Columbus addresses this, but from a different perspective.
It's true. I'm just like everyone here. You grow up around something and it feels like nothing.
Kogonada's characters have been brought up in the modern world too. Alienation is just part of the furniture. Like Antonioni, he shoots his characters in frames within frames, and cuts them off from one another with stark vertical lines.
Take one if you don't mind.
But Kogonada offers an antidote to Antonioni's pessimism. He shows us these borders, but he also demonstrates how they can be crossed.
You don't think Asians can speak English?
Here, when the principal characters, Jin and Casey, first meet, it begins as an awkward exchange, mirrored by the physical boundary between them.
Offer me a cigarette and I'm giving you a hard time.
But over the course of the scene, the awkwardness subsides, and the barrier opens.
Are you from here?
Yeah.
In this scene, Jin is alone, but the composition and the environment still tell us something about his relationships. The vertical line of the doorway serves as the border between him and the dad he always felt distant from. And we watch as he crosses this border to inspect his dad's clothes. Where Antonioni showed us the barriers that were impossible to scale, and connections that were fake, Kogonada shows us that, through sincerity, we can move past these barriers and make an authentic connection. Another trick that Kogonada borrows from Antonioni is his use of reflection. In Columbus, the reflected world is an inauthentic one. When Casey is telling Jin about one of her favourite buildings, we watch her reflection, and she begins to repeat something we've already heard a tour guide say in a previous scene.
Radical, really. Because during that time, banks were designed to be imposing, fortress-like, with tellers behind bars.
But when Jin calls her out on this, and she begins to talk from her heart, we see the real Casey through the glass. We can't hear what she says, but we know that it's sincere because we no longer are in conversation with her reflection. So there are barriers that we've built for ourselves in the modern world that keep us disaffected and distant. But Kogonada is keen to point out but there's plenty from the old world that keeps us from being authentic as well.
There's this belief that if you're not there when a family member dies, and not adequately grieving, your spirit will roam aimlessly and become a kikri, a ghost.
Jin tells us he's expected to live up to this tradition, despite the fact that neither him nor his dad believe in its cosmic consequences.
Still would be expected of me.
The old world's traditions and superstitions are just as restrictive as the newly constructed secular patterns of life. William Morris said that nothing useless can be truly beautiful, and Columbus, both the city and the film, are exceptional evidence for this claim. Antonioni showed us a frightening vision of modernism that was designed to keep us apart. But in Columbus, the beauty and function of modernist architecture serve as bridges of connection and points of convergence. We may not be immune to its trappings, but through a sincere desire to reach out to one another, any barrier can be breached.